Okay, I believe that we are indeed live. Alright, so something I saw come up in one of my YouTube account feeds recently was this video here. So it's titled, "I'm Desperate for Financial Freedom." I've only watched like a few seconds or whatever, just I think when I was doing like my audio test or something like that. So I haven't seen very much of this video at all. So we're gonna give it a react.
At 20 years old, I can confidently say that I am farther ahead than a lot of people, the majority of people my age, when it comes to money, finances, And it just feels weird because it just doesn't feel like enough. Now, I am extremely grateful for the money that I make. I'm extremely grateful for the job that I have. I'm extremely grateful to live the life that I am living. I don't have to worry about too many things financially, But still, every single day, my main worry is money. The only thing I think about all day is money.
That's when it can become unhealthy, right? But at the same time, I think I understand where he's coming from, and I'm not going to pause it right now for very long, or I'm not going to stop this right now for that long, because I probably shouldn't stop the videos too much, but essentially, like, money obviously matters, because, like, you have to eat, you have to pay the bills if you have bills, or if you have to buy your food or whatever. Like, it depends whether you live at home or not, or what your living arrangement is, but it's a factor, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but economic factors in the U.S. don't seem to be improving, or at least not very much. I don't know that they are, or at least maybe it depends on which specific elements of the economy, but like food, housing, rent, transportation, all that stuff, is it improving very much? And so even if if you're making a certain amount of money, is that enough to maintain a reasonable standard of living? Because we don't have to talk about like really lavish lifestyles or anything, but just a solid, fairly normal standard of living.
How am I going to get rich? How am I going to become a millionaire? How am I going to have financial freedom? And it's not like I'm being ungrateful for the things that I have. And it's not like I've been spoiled and I come from a rich family and all this shit, because I don't. But for some reason, I just crave more. I crave more very deeply. And it gets to a point where it almost affects my mental health in a way, because all I think about is money. And I've been like this for years, ever since I want to say 9th grade, 10th grade, around the time when I started working my first job. I've always been like that. Always. I've always thought there is no way that people do this for the rest of their fucking lives. And I'm not trying to say that to be like I'm better than them and they're less of a person, because they could be perfectly fine with where they're at. They could be very happy with the situation that they're in and the money that they make, and they could be very comfortable. But to me, that isn't the type of life that I envision for myself in the future. That isn't the type of future that I see. It's just, I don't know.
A lot of this kind of maybe comes down to what is the life that you want to live, or how I would probably phrase it is, what is the life that you're called to live? Because I'm going to look at it from more of like a kind of a Christian belief system, and I don't know if this guy has a belief system like that or similar to that. But one thing I will say is he has what seems to be a fairly money-hungry mindset. And again, from an economic standpoint, you could probably be understanding of why that is, because it might be, to go back to the video that I last reacted to, which is uploading right now, is related to like this rat race concept, right? And so if it is a rat race, and stuff like that, and if in inflation and all this other stuff, it's like if things are only kind of speeding up or outpacing or whatever, then yeah, you can understand why somebody might have a mindset like this. It comes down to also like, what do you define as being financially free, and how much money is enough to live the lifestyle that you want to live, or or that, like, we should be more focused on living the lifestyle that we're called to live and the one that we want to live. But I can understand this, like the one thing that might have stuck out probably the most, or at least one of the things that stuck out the most about this video, is the word financial freedom, or the words financial freedom, because that's something I would really like too. And it's not that I have to be like when you talked about being a millionaire and stuff like that, it's not that like I have to be a millionaire, although like that might be comfortable, that might be nice. You could also help a lot of people if you're a millionaire and you used it well, right? So it doesn't always have to be like a greedy thing. It's like, it can be a tool, but like, what do you use the tool for? Is that fair to say? And so, but if he is in a mindset where, because it's difficult, because like, what are your influences, and like what is the goal for why you want the money? It definitely pertains to what he's talking about, what it seems like he's talking about, which is people that kind of just work the normal average job 9 to 5 for the rest of their life. If you do not like the job that you're in, that could maybe be a bit depressing. Maybe you could feel a bit insane at times. And so it could be understandable why somebody is like, how do people do this for the rest of their life? Or I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, etc., etc.
I really don't know. And maybe I got something wrong with me. Maybe I'm too hooked on money. Just money, money, money. But I just want it, man. I want it bad, man. Like, really fucking bad. And I've been very blessed with the life that I have, the people that I have in my life. Because I ain't broke. I ain't rich either, but, if I needed some money, I could get some money. I can work. I could do DoorDash. If I really have to call someone for some money, I can make that call and I can have that happen, thankfully to, the family members that I have, and, the people I'm surrounded by, I love them very greatly, very deeply, I'm very blessed, How many times have I said, but
it is good that he has that realization that he is blessed, right? Because it could be easy, maybe potentially, especially with all the stuff from media bombarding and advertising, all this stuff, maybe, or social media maybe making it seem like your life is not enough. It's good that he has a perspective of like thankfulness, it seems, I think, and like realizing and acknowledging that he's been blessed. Because many of us, especially living in a Western nation, are probably blessed in many ways. Even like, if it is true that we even have homeless people that are overweight, would that be seen as a kind of qualifying factor for our society being relatively cushy or good or better than other places? It does not mean that it is as good as it could be, but like, is that something worth noting? Because it's really easy to get into this, oh well, we have it so much better than other places, why are you complaining, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, like to go back to something I've said before, it's like, do we have to wait till it gets that bad as those other places that are talked about in conversation, the other places that have it so much worse off? It's like, do we have to wait till it gets that bad before we start saying something about the current state of affairs where we live, or try to really point out these flaws and hopefully maybe try to make it better? Because it's like, if all we do is complain and blackpill people but it never leads to anything, it's like, now it's just downward spiral and you're depressed while you're downward spiraling. So you know what I mean? It's like, what is the solution, right?
It's just, I don't fucking know, y'all. I just want to be a millionaire. You know what I mean? It's so much. It's just so many things out here in this world that I want, And it's not needs. I'll be honest. They're not needs. They're wants, And fuck, I keep saying, you know what? Just deal with it. And, the life that I'm living, to other people, is their dream life, But when I go and I see these people who are living these lavish, luxury type lives, I don't really care for living a super luxurious type of lifestyle.
That's good. That kind of shows where its head's at. Because it's not, I don't think it's that you can't have luxuries, but it's like, if luxury is your god, that's bad.
But just seeing that and seeing the financial freedom that they have to just do whatever, do the work that they love doing, and just living the life that they want to live. Like, that's what I view as success. Financial freedom. The ability to go into a store, not have to worry too much about, oh, what's the price on this? What's the price on that? The ability to get up and go on a vacation whenever the fuck I want. That's the type of life that I envision. did yo put on his right turn signal and get over? You put on your right, then you came
But
to
it
the
went
left. I don't.
So
Okay. Okay. But I'm telling you, every time that I record and I'm driving, there's always some shit happening. Always. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm more focused because I'm talking. So when I'm driving, I'm like way more focused and attentive to just this shit that's happening around me. But I do have a plan on how I am going to become financially free, financially, successful. How I'm going to make a lot of money in the future. I have a plan. I invest a lot at a young age.
Good to invest.
I do invest.
Right.
I play around with, with stock options. And, that's a bit, I'm still learning stock options. I've been practicing. I've been studying. I've actually been studying this shit a lot. I'm not going to lie. I've been studying it a lot. Studying stock options, just learning how the market moves and looking at news and all this stuff. It's a lot that goes into it. And, you can't be emotional when it comes to trading stock options.
Exactly.
If you lose some money,
it's what it is.
You just got to take it on the chin. But
another thing as well, I'm not an expert on stocks or trading or investing or anything, so I could be wrong in what I'm about to say, okay? But unless the company that you invested in or bought stocks from or bought the stocks in, whatever, unless that company goes belly up and declares bankruptcy or closes or shuts down or whatever happens where essentially the stock is worth nothing and will continue to be worth literally nothing forever because it is done, it is cooked. Unless it is cooked, can't you just wait it out? Because this is the thing, it's like let's use Tesla for example. If Tesla within reason is not really going anywhere, and the stock, say you bought it 500 and it went down to 100, you lost a bunch of money. Wouldn't it be better to just never sell it when it's less than you paid for it? Just wait. Don't take this as financial advice. I need to add that in there. Do not take what I'm saying as financial advice. Do your own research. Don't take what I'm saying and just say, "Oh, I'll just whatever." Don't do that. I don't want to be held accountable for your financial decisions. But maybe I'll just say how I think about it. From my perspective, I'll say it that way. Don't take this as financial advice. If I had stock in Tesla and I bought at 500, went down to 100, I'm just probably not going to sell, because now you're kind of guaranteeing the loss of money, aren't you? If I had stock in Tesla on a personal level for myself, I'm not selling it if it's down in the dumps, because I'm looking at this, I'm like, this has future potential. This could because you look at how Tesla as a company could make technology and be not future proof, because what is future proof per se, but out of all these other companies, doesn't it have a reasonable chance at having some sort of long-term stability? And so with Elon's perceived ability to grow or develop or whatever stuff, a company, technology, whatever, it's if I had stock in Tesla, which I don't yet, but if I did, on a personal level for myself, don't be emotional. Do not take what I'm saying as financial advice. Make your own decisions. Do your own research. Just got to add that in there.
You can't get too greedy. You can't move too emotionally when it comes to dealing with stock options, But I don't know, man. I really feel like it's just a mental thing. And especially with me living in Maryland, it doesn't help. I'll be completely honest. It doesn't help. I don't want to live here. And don't get me wrong.
Is Maryland in Virginia?
I absolutely love where I live.
Or no?
I love the people, I love the
Maryland.
family, many great things. But I don't want to come outside and this
Washington?
is what I see. Gray.
Or no?
Sadness. Just foggy.
Yeah,
depressing.
Yeah.
When I was, when my dad lived in Florida for a little bit. He lived there for a year, I think.
Florida.
And I visited him for about 2 months, and I went there during the summer. And I gotta say, it's just
Different
beautiful.
vibe.
It makes you not feel so depressed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you wake up and this is how it looks at 5 o'clock in the evening. You know what I mean? Like, this looks depressing and sad. You know, when I was in Florida, even through all the rain, like, it rained like a motherfucker in Florida. It rained crazy. Hurricanes, all that. But at the end of the day, when the rain is gone, it still looks so beautiful. The sun comes out.
My dude.
You may see a rainbow. Yeah, palm trees.
Yep.
It's so beautiful in Florida. And that's honestly where I want to go. And also, there's no income tax. But you know, that's just where I want to go. I don't want to live in Maryland. I want to move to Florida. I want to live in Florida. That's the type of future that I envision for myself.
Vibes.
I just want to be free. I want to be able to go to the beach on a fucking Tuesday.
Woo!
At 1 p.m.
Tuesday. At
just
1
because I can. You know? It's just freedom. That's what I crave. I crave freedom. Maybe it's not so much the dollar sign, but it's the freedom. But in this world that we live in order to get that freedom, you need the dollar sign. You know, you need the money. And it's even harder with all the bullshit that we got to deal with, especially being this young and just now becoming an adult in this current world with the...
This is a big thing. Okay, so I think I might have thought about maybe this as a video topic. I'm not sure. Maybe it came to mind one day at work or something like that one day. Anyway, so one thing you could say, is everybody nostalgic now? Like, even the younger generation? Because, like, typically, like, when you look at past generations over the past, couple decades or whatever, isn't it normal that usually the generations get nostalgic once they get, like, more into their later years? Like, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. Like, for example, like, all the boomers that are still talking about, the 60s were so great, or whatever, the 70s, whatever it is. And they usually are like, like middle-aged people and up talking nostalgically about when they were young. But nowadays, it seems like Gen Z, at least a good amount possibly of Gen Z, is getting pretty nostalgic. Like, is it fair to say that the last few years, like, the nostalgia trend has kind of rose up more in the Gen Z community? And so, like, is basically everybody nostalgic except for teenagers and below, which it's like they haven't really lived necessarily a whole lot of life to be nostalgic. But I think I was even nostalgic, like, in high school, missing, like, the elementary school days, and, like, when I was young, like, way back. Well, not way back, but anyway. And so it's like, is everybody nostalgic now? Is part of that with Gen Z, particularly, possibly, is part of that with Gen Z, the reason why, is it possibly that it's because Gen Z lived through, like, coming of age life, and then as soon as they got into the workforce, it became quite quickly a very rapidly changing environment. Is it possible that it rapidly changed more quickly than previous generations' level of required adjustment to change? Right? So essentially, like, if you were a boomer and you were getting from, like, college into the workforce, is it fair that during that time, aside from, like, a war or the Cold War or whatever, is it, like, aside from that, is it possible that, like, on your local country level, when you were getting into the workforce, it was, like, kind of normal, steady as she goes, probably some change, but not an extreme amount of change? I'm not a historian, so, like, feel free to, like, correct me on this one. But, like, reasonable amount of change, nothing crazy. And so you kind of got to, like, live steady life, a little bit of change here and there along the way, but it was, like, pretty easy, adaptable, and, like, doable, comfortable, whatever, like, economically viable. There might have been consistency or some sense of security or something like that. Maybe this is just vibes, right? I'm just kind of painting what I think the picture might be. Whereas with Gen Z, specifically what I'll call elder Gen Z, which is, like, my group. So it's like, what's the beginning of Gen Z? Is the beginning of Gen Z 96, 97, or 98? Somewhere in there. It might be 97, I'm not sure. Somewhere in there, correct me if I'm wrong. But, like, beginning of Gen Z. And then I'm going to put the cutoff somewhere around, like, let's say, somewhere between 2002 and 2004. Any point after that, let's consider that no longer elder Gen Z. So basically, all of elder Gen Z is, like, kind of in the adulting process of life. Like, they're in the workforce now. They're getting out there. or they've been out there for like a couple of years or whatever. Depending on whether you went to like college, like post-secondary or not, it might have delayed how quickly you got it into the working world. But let's say like you're out there now, and for me specifically, it's like I was in college when COVID started. So then that kind of like sidelines or greatly, or it affects like, for me in Canada, it affects like 2.5, 2 to 2.5, somewhere around there, years of my life had some substantial level of effect from COVID stuff, right? And how our country responded to it. That's a whole other topic. But anyway, and so then you get out and like life is like normal now, but then it's like not long after life kind of renormalized, so to speak. Then AI comes on the scene, right? Chat GPT, all this stuff. And like initially maybe more, not necessarily primitive, but more primitive than now probably. And, it seems like, so let's say like, 2023 kind of was when AI started really popping off, development pretty rapid, right? And now where it's at in 2025, it's like, how often are you hearing stories about, how AI and robotics or whatever, how whether you're hearing stories or getting vibes from what you hear, from what you're talking about, whatever, about like AI and robots like taking jobs or AI taking jobs, whether it's in like software or whatever. And, it seems like, from COVID onward, it's like, is it fair to say that the pace of change is rapid and like it's increased on average from what it was decades prior? And so you got Gen Z getting out and getting into the workforce. And it's like, is it just stressful because like what is consistent? Like the level of consistency of life and stability, perceived stability in life right now for Gen Z at this young age compared to boomers when they were at our age. Is it fair to say that it's like everything's speeding up and so rapid, and like how much is for certain? Is your job going to be available anymore in a few years? Economically, how's our purchasing power? Is inflation slowing down? Like, do our governments even really care about us? Like, about our our basic needs or quality of life or whatever. Like, and mass migration, like all these different things. And not a lot of these things aren't necessarily new, but is it fair that all of these different things have increased to substantial levels and all occurring at the same time, while you're just trying to kind of get out there and like live life now, like be out there in the working world? So it's kind of a lot. And so like, yeah, so think about how that relates to what this guy's saying.
Inflation being through the fucking roof, you know what I mean? Tariffs, that ain't gonna fucking help. Everything else is gonna get even more expensive. It's like we're just getting fucked after fuck. Like, yo, like the government running the train on Gen Z. Like, pause on when I say that, but it's some real shit. Like, just fucking us. They fucking us.
So obviously lots of language in this video, but anyway. So, see, like, I didn't even listen to that part before I said this, but just off the bit that he said before, I went on like that, 5-minute monologue about all this stuff. And then he kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's kind of supporting in some way what I'm saying here. Like, there's a vibe that probably doesn't feel very great in the modern context for young people, what's going on here. And so it might be understandable why, Gen Z just kind of wants to make some money and have freedom, and that's probably what most generations have wanted to varying degrees. But it's kind of almost like you just kind of want to get to a point where you're good, like you're floating, not necessarily floating, but it's like, I'm all right, things are all right, I got enough to be comfortable, things are good. Because like, if you're constantly like floundering, trying to not drown, like, what's the quality? And if you live in a place that looks like this, like, what's the quality of life? Well, if the place looks like this all the time, like, what's the quality of life? What's the vibe feeling like?
Badly too. Like, it's like there's, for some people, they don't see no hope. They see all this shit. They just like, fuck it. We gonna be financially fucked up forever.
It's kind of like the doomer kind of black pill stuff, right?
We ain't never gonna own no house. We ain't never gonna have this. We ain't never gonna have that. Me, absolutely fucking not. I don't think like that. I'm gonna find the motherfucker. Well, I'm telling you, I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna be a homeowner at a young age. You know what I mean? I'm gonna.
The fact that people even have to talk like this or that he's even talking like this is maybe part of the problem here. Not in the sense of like necessarily what he's saying, but the fact that like that there is even like a perceived vibe, generally speaking, that this is happening. Like the fact that he even has to say, I'm going to be a homeowner at a young age. The fact that that is even said in such a way where as if it's almost assumed that it's not attainable is part of the problem. Like the fact that home ownership in your 20s is probably seen as quite out of reach to a large amount of Gen Z is maybe part of the problem here. Like being priced out of the market or whatever, like the idea of being like a renter perpetually. And in past generations, maybe people rented a house or had like a small apartment or whatever for several years. Was it, at the very least, was it more common to own your own home in your 20s 50 years ago? Why is that?
I'm going to be a homeowner before I turn 30. I'm 20. I got 10 years to make this shit happen. I can make it happen.
And also, like, props for being 20. Because as a quarter century now, being 25, it would be kind of nice to be able to at least have the head start of being out in the working world after COVID being 20. Because, and like, this is partly my own fault, but it's like, I feel like COVID kind of messed up the process a bit. And it's easy to always like blame something else, but it's like if COVID hadn't have happened, would I kind of be maybe better set up and not necessarily missed out to some degree for 2 years? But again, I could have tried different avenues. I could have maybe tried to do more like online business stuff, or like it's gonna be my own fault to some degree for not capitalizing better on the time. But it would be kind of nice in the current context to be 20 again. So, the fact that he's got like maybe an extra 5 years to try to make something happen sooner, like time's valuable.
As long as I keep my ass out of debt, which I've been doing very good at.
Yep.
I'll be good. My credit score is good.
Hopefully.
I got a paid off car on my credit. You know what I'm saying? Credit cards. Only got 2 of them. But I stay on top of them. Paid in full.
Good.
100%. Never had no balance. None of that. I always made sure that...
If you don't ever have a balance, like, can you build good credit relatively quickly? Because this is like, I don't actually know how to build a good credit score. I've heard that you need that they want to know that you can carry a balance. So does that mean that you should keep some amount of debt over a period of time? But obviously, like, not let it get out of hand. Like, don't take this as financial advice because I don't know if this is true or how it works or whatever. Like, I don't know how to build good credit score quickly. I don't think I know. Like, I don't, anyway.
My finances was straight. I'm telling you, I'm gonna find a way to become really successful at a young age, even if that means I'm retiring in my motherfucking 40s and 50s. Because there's people not retiring until they almost 70 years old.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
If that's true, whew.
Like, I understand you got to be patient. You got to play the long game. You got to pump your brakes a little bit and look at it in the long term. But at the same time, I want to be able to have fun and enjoy lavish things while I'm young as well. You know what I mean?
Kind of comes down to quality of life. Is that fair to say? But different people might define that differently.
I mean, I can do that while I'm young. If I want to go out and have some fun, I can. But it's the fact that I'm going to be risking a lot of time to just make money. I'm going to be risking a lot of time to make money, basically. But I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find a way to become successful at a young age. I will be a millionaire. I will be a millionaire. I will. I got to say it a couple times just to let y'all know, let myself know that I will, and I will do it.
Real quick, what I want to say, I'm going to guess he's got like a Honda Accord here. I don't know if this is a Civic or an Accord. First of all, what's up with these horns? Like, this steering wheel, kind of weird. Like not necessarily this part here, but just how they have this weird kind of half ball hexagon shaped thing. That's kind of weird. But anyway, it looks like, I'm gonna guess this Honda is a Honda Accord, maybe a Civic, but probably an Accord. I don't know. I'm gonna guess it released within the I'm gonna guess he bought it 2016 or later. This is a part where I would give advice. Don't sell this car. If this car is in good shape and it works, don't sell this car. Even if you start making money, I would say just keep this car. Like, I got an old Honda CRV. Like, if I had money, one of the things I'd probably do is just fix everything that needs fixing, get it up to snuff, get it probably de-rusted, all that stuff, get it proper. Maybe a little lift kit on it, maybe nice front bumper or front ram bar, whatever, stuff like that. Like, a couple little bells and whistles, cosmetic stuff. But for the most part, get up to snuff. It's got sentimental value, so I would probably keep it long term for that as well. But just get good, affordable vehicle, or if you have a good affordable vehicle, just stick with it, just stick with it, and don't be necessarily too eager to jump up, and also aren't cars depreciating assets unless it's a super specific kind of car. So anyway, it's just keep it modest. Keep it real, quality. Honda Accord probably good for the long haul kind of vehicle anyway. So just yeah.
But I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Like if you like, don't like if you don't like. I ain't got a gun to your head. But be safe. Don't be playing out here in the streets like these kids. Get out the streets. It's a sidewalk, man. Come on, man. Out here playing with twigs and shit. But y'all be safe. And I'm out of here. Peace.
Okay, what'd you think of that? So this guy has got there's some stuff in there that resonates. And is it fair to say that this is kind of the general sentiment of Gen Z pertaining to economic situation, how things are going? Is it fair that that's a lot of Gen Z are kind of thinking like that? And it's I think one thing that maybe is important is do not make money your god, ever. Don't do it. And money is a tool. Use it well. Look in and do your own research into ways to be good with money and how to use it well, and consider investment options stuff. Don't take this as financial advice. Consider do some research into investing into all this different stuff. Maybe consider learning a little bit about crypto or whatever, real estate, whatever. Just keep your mind open to all these different things. And maybe consider do you want to just trade your time for money forever, or do you want to instead focus more on earning money by solving problems? And does that open up higher financial gain possibilities? But at the end of the day, it's we got to make money, we got to pay bills and live and stuff like that. But don't make it Lord of your life. Don't make money God. Don't do that. Don't lose yourself. Do what's right in this life. Do what you're called to do. But thanks for watching. Until next time, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ. And until next time, we'll see you around. And also, I gotta rephrase how I said that, because I don't like to say until next time and then say believe